It's Tommy on tap, baby!
I'm a man! I'm 40!
Wanna bite a kneecap off?
On the last play of the game!
It's Tommy on Tap.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the next episode of Tommy on Tap. I'm Kevin. I'm here with my brother, Bobby, and obviously we've got the man, the myth, the legend himself, Tommy, here. Before we ask Tommy what he's got on tap, I want to say this. If you like the content we have here for you, hit the like button. If you want to hear more, hit subscribe. We're not monetizing the channel. We're here for the subs and the likes. So please hit like, hit subscribe if you're interested in hearing more about what we do. Without further ado, though, Tommy, what do we got on tap today?
Hey, another special show for you. Hey, last week we talked about maybe the greatest team, especially the greatest single-season team in the NFL, the Miami Dolphins. This week we're going to touch on maybe one of the greatest franchises in NFL history, the Oakland Raiders, and a great deal of time in the 70s with them and John Madden. We'll then roll into the debate of the NBA GOAT. Touch on that a little bit and see what our opinions are there. We'll have a little time to kind of talk about the scouting combine this week that starts down in Indianapolis, and then if we have a few minutes, just about anything that's on our mind in sports.
All right, why don't you get us started by buying the first round?
Absolutely. What do you want, Kevin?
I plan on sampling the Cannon series from the Heavy Seas Beers. I think it's Clipper Brewing Company, Baltimore, Maryland. So I've got 4 different ones here. I'm going to start with just Loose Cannon IPA.
I'm drinking a Fat Tire tonight from New Belgium. We were talking about Bell's last week, and New Belgium and Bell's are kind of merging. So tonight I'm drinking just a classic amber ale, Fat Tire.
Excellent. I went into my refrigerator, and I'll tell you what looked good to me tonight was an Alaskan Amber.
Very nice.
Ooh, all right.
I'm going to have an Alaskan Amber tonight. So
that's Alaska Beer Company?
Yep, the Alaskan Brewing Company. Going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. But hey, so first round, we're buying, we're drinking. Kevin, why don't you start us off here? Let's talk a little bit about the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, to me, and we, whether it's the Oakland Raiders or John Madden, I think my focus of this has been on John Madden since we decided this is what we were going to talk about. And I know I was texting with Bobby a little bit. Maybe I texted with you a little bit too. Just in growing up, you know, I was born in '86. I grew up watching football, obviously. And to me, John Madden was an announcer. And he was kind of a large personality, bigger than life, kind of a goofy dude. He would say funny things. There's funny, memes. Oh, boom, he's over here. No, he's over here, or whatever. Those kind of things with Madden were just hilarious. And that's kind of what I grew up on. I knew he was a successful coach. I knew he'd won a Super Bowl. I never had looked into how successful he was and really any details about him. And there's lots we could talk about. What I want to talk about is just kind of a little bit about the scheme and how he was successful, specifically looking at offense. And obviously, offense and defense all plays a big role in what you do. But I thought it was interesting, he was drafted, I think, by the Eagles, and he got injured even before his first season, and he wasn't able to play, and that was kind of the end of his playing career. But he was able to kind of study a little bit under, I think the guy's name was Norm Van Brocklin or Brock Van Normlin. I don't know. You can tell me, Dad.
Norm Van Brocklin.
Norm Van Brocklin. I got the name right first, right? Yeah. So he was the quarterback there at the Eagles in whatever season Madden was drafted. But he had spent some time under Sid Gilman with the Rams, I believe, and so he had taught John Madden. He kind of took Madden under his wing. Hey, you're injured. Come sit here with me and watch some film. And he had taught him a little bit about a film. And Madden kind of learned, hey, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't know anything about football. I thought I did, but I thought I knew, but I really don't. And he learned a lot. And he kind of assimilated some of those ideas of the Sid Gilman scheme. There's a great video that maybe ESPN does or the NFL Network. I don't know. That's about John Madden, A Football Life or whatever. And he talks about how he also went to a lecture by Vince Lombardi, and Vince Lombardi talks about the Packer sweep, and he talked about the one play for like 8 hours, and it was kind of solidifying in Madden's mind. Wow, I thought I knew a lot about football. I don't know anything. This man could talk for 8 hours about one play. I couldn't talk for 8 hours about my career up to that point. And so he became a student. He started learning, and he went and coached. And maybe someone else will get into his coaching tree a little bit. You can look it up on Wikipedia if you want to see where he coached. But he was at, I think, San Diego State. and he crossed paths with Don Coryell, and he started learning that offense as well. And I think a key to the Raiders' success when they had Kenny Stabler there, and the success they were having from the point that John Madden took over as the Raiders head coach, was kind of a combination of Sid Gilman's offense that he learned from Brock Van Norman. I can't Norm Van Brock. I still can't get the name right. It's too complicated.
Come on, man.
Hey, but whatever he learned from him, and what he learned from Don Coryell, finding ways to spread the field horizontally, take shots vertically, and get the ball out. Now, when you watch it, they're still in pro sets, and when they get 2x2, it's like a tight end and a wing offset. But they're starting to develop that. Hey, let's spread things out a little bit. Let's not just be a two-back under center offense, but find ways to spread the field and attack horizontally. And part of that Coryell offense was whatever your route progression was, we're going to have a deep threat, and the deep threat's the first read. So if the defense isn't taking away the deep threat, we're scoring a touchdown or making a big play, and then we're checking down. And what I thought it's interesting for any coaches out there that want to listen or that are listening, Dan Gonzalez and his offensive system, he's got a book, Recoded and Reloaded. He's got a number of other things. I think you can hit him up for consulting. But his offense is he has a very unique way of communicating all that, but it's all based on that same kind of system. Let's have a rhythm passing game, 3-step drop. That first look is a deep shot, and if the defense doesn't defend it, we're scoring a touchdown or making a big play, and then we're checking it down from there. And I thought that scheme, he was able, the things he learned when he was there with the Eagles, and the things he learned from his time coaching under Don Coryell, really enabled kind of that offense to be able to attack in kind of a different way than what we were seeing with NFC teams and even AFC teams when we looked at Super Bowl 7 last week. Fast forward to Super Bowl, I think it was 11, it was much more wide open, much more passing going on, and I think that those things played a big role in it.
Yeah, you mentioned some of those things, and it's kind of funny. What I remember is, Ken Stabler, obviously was the quarterback when he won his Super Bowl, but when he first took over, you talk about the vertical passing game, they had a possession receiver in Fred Biletnikoff, who was great at running underneath routes, and he could still catch the deep ball. But Fred Biletnikoff was kind of the epitome of the controlled passing game. But then Cliff Branch, who just finally was inducted into the Hall of Fame, he was the big play guy, and Darryl LaMonica was the Mad Bomber. And Darryl LaMonica, he threw the ball deep. He was great, and that really helped in that regard. And then they also had on that team, I was just watching some video too, just kind of refresh myself. In 1970, George Blanda, who was in his 40s, he was kind of Tom Brady before Tom Brady, where he was still playing quarterback and kicking, but he led some big drives and had some big throws to Cliff Branch, and they had great tight ends. Raymond Chester was a rookie in that time. Later, Dave Casper would come in. So outstanding big play offense for sure.
Yeah, when I was
what are your thoughts there?
Well, you mentioned a couple of the names on what I was focusing on. I kind of wanted to focus on the coaches that were around the same time that Madden was, and it was just a laundry list of Hall of Famers. Madden got the job in 1969, and he just had a 10-year career, and during that decade, he was going up against Shula, Tom Landry, Hank Stram was in his division, Chuck Noll, Paul Brown, George Allen, and for the Vikings, Bud Grant. Those were the
huge names, yeah.
And the thing is when you look at their winning percentages, Madden is at the top. Technically, he's second all time because there was a guy in the 20s that coached for 5 years that has a higher percentage. But Madden's ahead of Lombardi, Allen, and then all those names I just listed, he's got a better winning percentage.
Yeah, I thought that was insane when I looked up that also. Like, I don't know the dude from the 20s. Congratulations, 5 years. That's a great accomplishment. You got a great winning percentage. But when you think of all those names, John Madden is number 2. That's insane. I never would have thought that, because again, I'm thinking this is some bigger than life media personality that spun a okay coaching career into a media opportunity and a football like gaming franchise and all that. But no, dude was a legit coach.
And he kind of, in that regard, when you talk about Kevin, in that when you started watching football, you kind of overlooked his coaching career because he was such a successful announcer. But, he was overshadowed by those guys. And he was even overshadowed a little bit by his owner, Al Davis, who was such a big, larger-than-life personality.
But right from the get-go, when Al Davis did give him that job, he inherited a great team, but he was able to keep that team playing at such a high level. I went through each season of his career. In that first season, he started out 12-1 in 1969. This is before the merger, and he lost in the AFL championship game. Then his first year in the NFL, he goes 8-4-2. And you would think that, going 12-1 to 8-4-2, that's going to be a disappointment. But he lost in the AFC championship game. And that is the most surprising thing that I took from researching John Madden's career, is how many times that man got to the conference championship game.
Well, and not just the conference championship, but when he lost in the playoffs, a lot of the times it was to the eventual Super Bowl winner or the eventual, league champion.
Yep, Steelers, Dolphins.
Insane how close he was, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, from 73 to 77, he either lost in the conference championship game or the one year that he won the Super Bowl. I mean, that is just dominant. And the records he was putting up is, he's 10-3, 9-3, 12-2, 11-3, 13-1, 11-3. I mean, the record, I don't remember exactly what he ended with his career, but it was 100-something and 30. It was really impressive.
And the second best in the history of the league. Yeah, I mean, it's insane. I think kind of to that point, those you mentioned, he was always coaching against elite coaches, and he came so close so many times. You don't think about that with him a lot, and it's crazy. He was so close all the time, but he never made it. And when it came to his Hall of Fame induction, I don't remember the year he was inducted, but again, he was eligible for a long time and just never made it for whatever reason.
He's in there twice, right? He's in there as a media person, then finally, secondarily got in there as a head football coach, I believe. I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, I remember watching in that little The Football Life or whatever, he was saying, at one point I just realized, okay, well, I guess I'm not going to get in, and then eventually he did. But it was, it's similar to his experience. He's banging at the door forever. But when you look back at the career and the success that he had, it's just unbelievable that that he wasn't in sooner and that he isn't given the credit that he deserves. And maybe he is given the credit. I don't know. I grew up with John Madden, knowing him, like I said, as a media personality. And to me, he's always like anybody who grew up in the Midwest, I think, Michigan, Illinois, Minnesota, Wisconsin, you might know this. The Menards guy, I related him to that guy. Save big money at Menards. It was, they were just over the top, weird media personalities. Yeah. And John Madden happened to call football. I had no clue about just how great of a coach he was, how much success he had. Even hearing about his leadership strategy and approach and how unique it was in the NFL at that time was great. Tom, why don't you close this round out for us? Give us your final thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I will, and I'll buy you guys another round. And I've got a little bit to share, because if you're a Raider fan, there's some things here that you definitely want to be emphasized so that people know. I mean, one of the great things about the Raiders is, they have a great fan base. It's the Raider Nation. It's all over, and that's how they really help generate the success and the popularity of the NFL. The Black Hole was a section at the Oakland Coliseum that people came, they painted their faces, they wore the crazy makeup, and the Raider Nation is unbelievable. And I have a cousin who's Raider Nation nuts. Brian, again, I'll mention him from last week. Brian loves the Raiders. The Raiders had their owner, we talked about Al Davis. They're really known for a couple of slogans. Their commitment to excellence, that's painted on a lot of things in the Oakland lore and the Los Angeles lore of them. They also just win, baby. That was an Al Davis statement, just win, baby. And, they have had a lot of great success. And here's 4 things that I think, maybe 5 things that people should remember about them. They've been part of some of the plays in NFL history that have names. The Immaculate Reception. The Immaculate Reception, I can remember sitting there watching it when the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Raiders on a controversial Terry Bradshaw passed downfield, who bounced off Frenchie Fuqua, or maybe it didn't bounce off Frenchie Fuqua, because back then it couldn't touch an offensive player and then be caught by another offensive player. But it bounced off George Atkinson or Frenchie Fuqua into Franco Harris's arms, and he ran for the game-winning touchdown. Part of Holy Roller. You guys can look up Holy Roller if you don't know that. But the reason the NFL doesn't allow you to fumble forward and recover your own fumble is because of the Holy Roller play. The Raiders against the Chargers, a pass thrown to Dave Casper. He fumbles it. He bumbles, stumbles, farts, and falls down. Ultimately, he's pushing it into the end zone. He falls on his own fumble 15 or 20 yards later in the end zone for the game winner. We all know the Tuck rule, right? It might be the beginning of Tom Brady's famous GOAT career. And then one play that I really remember, and I'll cut this short because I know we want to move on, is the Sea of Hands. And it was when the Raiders beat the Dolphins. And this was to end the Dolphins' run of Super Bowls. But Kenny Stabler, as he's getting sacked, left-handed Kenny Stabler flips the ball out into the end zone. And Clarence Davis, number 28, Raider lore, in this sea of hands, Jake Scott, Dick Anderson, whoever was back there for the Dolphins, and Clarence Davis makes the game-winning touchdown catch. So, those are just some things that are just really iconic to this great, great franchise. All right, guys, we could talk all night about the Raiders, but we want to get into a couple other things. So here we go, round number 2. Kev, what you drinking now, brother?
Next up, I'm going to go with, I'm sticking with Heavy Seas beers, and I'm going with Tropicana. So this is a citrus IPA. I don't know, some kind of orange or some kind of flavor going on there.
Excellent. All right, Bobby, what you need, man?
Got another fat tire. I don't know. You guys must do, pick your own, because I just buy a 6-pack. I just got the fat tire tonight.
No, hey, I'll buy you that, and I love fat tires, but I'm back on another amber, man. The Alaskan amber. I bought one 6-pack as well.
Nah, bro, I went to the beer store today and just bought one of those samplers because it caught my eye. I'm a judge a book by a cover kind of guy when I shop for beer. That's
Excellent.
a fancy packaging. I'm buying it.
Well, hey, the first round was great. Hopefully the second round is good. And we get into the second round now.
Go!
This is the GOAT, and this argument will go on forever. I will talk last on this one because, I'm the old man again on the porch on this damn one.
I think I got the last say on it because my statement, I think, is going to end all of whatever you got to say.
All right, then I'll go first, and we'll let Mr. Basketball Bobby go second, and he can interrupt me as we go, but I'm sure he knows what I'm going to say.
And I hate basketball, so I'll get my last one on that.
We didn't limit this conversation to Michael Jordan and LeBron James.
Oh, no.
Okay. So let's, first of all, this eliminate. Michael Jordan's a great basketball player. He was 6-0 in NBA championships, even though he took 3 years off for some stupid baseball dream, whatever it was. And he's a great player. But I am the Detroit Pistons fan. And anybody that's a Pistons fan today would be saying, what do you mean the Pistons? Well, if you were a true Piston fan, you know about the Bad Boys, and they used to just whoop on Michael Jordan like a stepchild. And, Michael Jordan was great, and he could score his 50 or 60, but it took him getting a whole lot of people around him.
It took them stealing Rodman to make it not a problem.
Well, no. Rodman came in the second era. Rodman was still on the Bad Boys kicking his ass. And that Rodman was still kicking his butt. Rodman came later. In his second run of championships in that last year.
Okay.
Yeah, he was only there for one of those. Rodman was a bad boy, and we used to knock him on his butt. We beat the Bulls. Now, listen, I'm not a Michael Jordan hater, other than the fact that I'm a Piston fan. That makes me a hater, okay? But not because he's not a great-ass basketball player, and in the definite conversation of the greatest ever to play.
Can I take a guess at what comes next?
Well, we got to talk about LeBron a little bit, right?
All right. I want after you say LeBron, I want to take a guess.
Well, listen, you can interrupt me anytime you want because I love him. But LeBron, you talk about that too. He is the most versatile. He's Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Karl Malone, Larry Bird. He is all wrapped into one big package, man, and he is the king. He had more pressure on him than anybody else, I believe, coming into the NBA ever. And he is unbelievable. His career's been up and down. He's won, 3 or 4 championships. He's lost a few. But, man, undeniably that he's one of the top of all time. But listen, I'm going to tell you who the best basketball player of all
This
time
is
is.
my guess. This is my guess.
Make your guess.
Bird.
No, I love Larry Bird, but he's not. Okay, I love Larry
Wilt
Bird.
Chamberlain.
No, not Wilt the Stilt, but you're getting closer because he's a center. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Lou Alcindor. I mean, listen, just unbelievable career. Won championships. He changed the game of basketball. You couldn't dunk. They outlawed the dunk in college basketball because the man was so dominant. Can't dunk anymore because we can't stop this kid. He developed the skyhook. Now, the skyhook.
Can I say one thing real quick, Tom? I read something somewhere where he was having a conversation with Jordan, and they were talking about who is the GOAT, and he was like, "Look, they changed the rules to stop me. I'm the GOAT, bro."
Yes, and he's a smart, well-read, intelligent guy. On top of all that, okay, so whatever. He's a great human being for one thing. But this skyhook, fall-away jumpers, people have imitated. Dunks from the free throw line, people have imitated. Power moves in the post, people have imitated. The three-point shots by Steph Curry and all the great shooters, people have imitated. There is yet to be a player that has imitated the success, the dominance of Kareem's skyhook. He would catch the ball in the post. You could try to defend him, but he'd dump it off to somebody if you doubled down on him. But he would turn, lift his right leg, bring that big right arm up, and throw the skyhook over the top. And he'd shoot it at 6 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet. I mean, he was unbelievable. And his stats are unbelievable. His success is unbelievable. So my vote, in all due respect to every other great player, is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the greatest player of all time.
We have it. Robert. Robert, what you got, man?
Well, you brought up 3 great points, and that's why I'm not... I might land at the end at who is the GOAT, but I think you can break those 3 players down into 3 positions, right? You got guards, forwards, and centers, and they all do different things. I personally never saw... these are 3 different eras. You watched Kareem play. I didn't. Kevin didn't. Kevin watched Michael Jordan play. I didn't. I watched LeBron play. So
It was good.
I can really only tell you about LeBron because I didn't get to experience the other things that come with their careers, right? One thing about LeBron that I think gives him a GOAT argument is kind of what you were saying, Tom, about impact on the game. With Kareem getting the rules changed, I don't know if the GOAT conversation needs to end at who would win a game one-on-one in somebody's driveway, who has more championships, who has the better stats. For LeBron, his mobility, ability to form teams around him. I mean, when LeBron comes, it's not just a player, he's the front office. And currently, he's not doing a great job, so that might hinder my argument. But when he changes teams, he knows exactly what he needs. He plays all 5 positions, and that's something that Kareem and Michael can't say. That being said, impact on the game. Michael Jordan had an immense impact on the game. I mean, I don't know the statistics, but I would have to guess that he grew the NBA as a brand during the 90s in just an unimaginable way. Given his Jordan brand now that's $1 billion, I mean, it dwarfs what LeBron has. And like I said, I can't necessarily speak on those other guys' careers as a whole because all I can talk about is their highlights, and I can talk about Michael Jordan jumping up and hitting the shot over the Cavaliers and fist pumping, but I can't really talk about LeBron in that same way. I don't know, his wins are less dramatic, it feels like. He's got the 3-1 comeback against the Warriors, and that's kind of a that one kind of cements him in NBA history in terms of a dramatic win. It's really tough and it's really close, and that's why there's the best guard, the best forward, and the best center, and I have to go with LeBron because he can play all of those positions.
Fair argument, man. Fair argument. All right. We've been waiting for this, Kevin. Mr. Hates basketball. Give us your point.
Now, I did say that I hated basketball. Let me be clear. I like playing basketball. I think it's fun. It ain't football, so who cares? But I will say this. I watch basketball. I've seen my fair share. I certainly watched a ton of Michael Jordan in the 90s. I can remember doing it. I would watch Michael, and then I would switch to like WWE Raw or whatever. It was awesome. It was fun. And here's my GOAT thoughts. The argument, we don't have a GOAT debate about who the best player is. We have a GOAT debate about what makes a GOAT, if we're being honest. Michael Jordan may be the GOAT. I don't know. LeBron may be the GOAT. I don't know. But how do you define a GOAT? Who won the most championships? Who had the most blocks? Who had the most rebounds? All of this crap. If there was somehow a way to define mathematically what it meant to be the best basketball player that year, we could figure it all out. We could just compute it and we'd look and say, blah, 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 blah. Oh, it was Jordan, obviously. We ran all the math and it was. There isn't a way to do any of that. You have to watch a game. There's no way to look and say, to quantify whether 80s basketball was tougher, harder. They were tougher and they were hitting them more and stuff. Or 90s was however it was. Like, there's no way to do any of that. There isn't a way to solve the GOAT problem. So stop trying. That's my take on it. They're great players. LeBron, freaking awesome. We can tell that by watching him. Michael Jordan, freaking awesome. We can tell that by watching him. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he's awesome. We can tell by watching him play. There isn't a GOAT. Because there's no way for us to quantify it. There's no way for us to tell. They didn't play in the same time. There's no way to make a determination. So quit trying to. They're just all effing fantastic. And just appreciate them for who they are.
Wow. That was a little melodramatic, man. I thought you were going to lull some deep-seated feelings you had about Kevin Johnson. You don't even remember that you loved Kevin Johnson, do you?
What I remember is this. I figured his name out one time, but he was a guard probably for the Minnesota Vikings or something. Or I'm sorry, the Minnesota
Timberwolves.
I'm talking college.
Oh,
Minnesota
Golden Gophers?
Golden Gophers. He wore his socks up real high and stuff. It was a big deal back in 98 maybe or something. I don't know. I talked to a Minnesotan and he knew exactly who I was talking to. I don't know what his name is now.
I don't know. I just know you were a big Kevin Johnson fan.
Cut this out now. I don't even remember who Kevin Johnson is.
Oh my goodness. Next time you come to the house, I'll pull the card out. I still have your card of him.
Who was he, Bobby?
He was a Hall of Famer for the Phoenix Suns, man.
I wonder most, what was the reason that I loved him? I don't know.
Probably because he was a guard and you were a guard. All right, man, we're going to get ready to spy another round here. We're getting ready to where we're going to have to close it out. So let's have another round. Bobby, throw another fat tire on. Kevin, you got the only dramatic tonight. What are you going with on round 3?
Well, I have nothing much more interesting. So I have two choices, right? So I'm going to go with double IPA or hazy India Pale Ale. So I'm going with double.
Attaboy. Go with a double. And I'm going to go with my Alaskan, just like before. So we'll finish this off with the Alaskan. And listen, we don't need to talk long on this, but we're going to talk about the wonderful world of the NFL again, and let's talk about this week, the scouting combine and the impact that it has on the NFL. All those players are headed down to Indianapolis, kind of the great big cattle show. They're gonna parade out there and see what they've got. They are going to do it now. I know that at one point they were talking about boycotting it because of the fact they were going to make a kind of an isolated area for them and weren't going to let them see their agents and everything else. So, Bobby, real quick, what's your take on the scouting combine here in 2022?
Well, I saw today that one of the top prospects from Alabama, the big tackle Evan Neal, is opting out of it, and I think that has to do with the last couple years there haven't been combines, and those guys still got drafted. Those guys, you can see their tape and know what they offer your team. I don't know if the combine hurts people, if it helps people, but it seems to be that a lot of entities in the NFL don't take it that seriously. You can see it with the Rams no longer attending. They're not even going to go this year. I think last year they sent some scouts, but I don't think McVay was there. I might be wrong on that, but there's going to be no Rams management there. If they can't see you playing with pads on, eye in the sky, then they're not interested. And I bet you that it helps people that were under the radar, but I think for the guys that are established and you know that they're at the top of the class, I don't know if doing a few extra reps on the bench press is really pushing the meter anywhere. I think that players know that, and I think that organizations are starting to realize that too. It just matters when you got the pads strapped on.
I got you. What do you think, Kev?
Yeah, I think it's kind of an ESPN problem. Like you have people maybe not competing in the combine, or you have people not watching it. It's because it doesn't matter. And I agree with the Rams kind of view there. What are you showing on film? How high can you jump? Yeah, maybe those measurables matter. I think that there's a lot of things changing in the way that you evaluate player ability and the way that you evaluate personnel, and those things are showing up. It'll be interesting. I think the kind of outright rejection that the Rams are showing, like, we're not going. We're good. We don't need to see it. We'll see what they show on tape.
All right.
It's interesting.
Tom, I know that you love watching it, so I want to hear what you have to say back to our pessimistic selves.
I'm glad I get the final word on it. I'm glad I get the final word on it. Hey, listen, I understand. Ultimately, a football player is judged by his game tape. There's no question. What does he do in the game? And when you're watching a game film and he's in on 60 snaps, I mean, you want to see the guy going balls to the walls for 60 snaps. You want to see great effort, great technique, but it's also tough to do that when there are some guys that play at universities that maybe they're not getting coached as well as they do at Alabama, or maybe they've had 3 head coaches in 3 years with 3 different systems. And so maybe their technique on film isn't as great, or, maybe there's not this emphasis on a certain way. Now you still want to watch them and they play with a motor, they play full speed, but it's not always about the film. I mean, and again, what you see on film, all you want to do at the scouting combine, in my opinion, is just reconfirm that when you watch them run. Because, the history of the NFL would tell you that a guy that runs 4.6 and plays wide receiver and went to Mississippi Valley State and wears number 80 and eventually plays for the San Francisco 49ers and is arguably the greatest wide receiver of all time, maybe not even arguable.
Don't have a GOAT discussion on it?
No. But what I'm saying is he's rare. He met all the other boxes. He checked all the other boxes, his work ethic, all the other things. And so you have to be careful when you see the other guy that is kind of the same way. He runs the 4.6, but maybe he doesn't check all the others. Or maybe he doesn't go to a team that has a coach like Bill Walsh that is so meticulous in what he teaches that he really only has to learn a few routes. And he runs those routes so well, and that he has a quarterback that is so in tune with him that he becomes as great as he really was. So I just think the scouting combine is just one other tool in the chest of NFL general managers and talent evaluators to just put the pieces together. And it definitely gives a kid that maybe didn't get all the film time, or he plays at a smaller school in a smaller conference, a Division III school, he can go up in some of these drills against them and maybe show himself that, hey, he's a pretty darn good athlete, and what I'm seeing on film is going to correlate because, man, he is big, he is strong, and he is fast. Whether NFL teams take it serious, they don't take it serious. I think maybe Sean McVay and his GM aren't going to be there, but there's going to be some NFL scouts there, and they're going to be watching, and they're going to be taking notes, and they're going to utilize that information. I don't know who did the article about them not coming, but every NFL team takes this serious. Okay, there is a correlation between many of these statistics that match with the film, and ultimately players get discovered and players get found out in this. I mean, if you're coming for this great job interview and you're one of the big names on this, and you can only bench press 225 5, 6, 7 times, then there's a question about your commitment to this whole darn thing. So hey, listen, the NFL's great. We could talk about it all the time, but hey, there's another week. I'm going to cash this thing out. Any final words from you guys?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting week going forward. I don't know if anything's going to get done on the baseball front. That's kind of we should be watching spring training right now, but nobody's tying up their cleats because they're dealing with the lockout. In the NBA, we have gotten to see some amazing work from the new look Philadelphia 76ers. James Harden and Joel Embiid look like two peas in a pod. My own Phoenix Suns, they're looking like a little bit different now without Chris Paul. He's out for 6 to 8 weeks with that broken thumb. Devin Booker has stepped up to be the point guard, and his statistics are looking really good. He just needs to cut down on some turnovers, and I think the Suns will straighten that out. They just lost it was the second time this season that they lost 2 in a row. First time since December. They're just sitting shy of 50 wins right now. I want to make it clear, Tom, that I don't dislike the combine. I think that you're absolutely right for someone like Jerry Rice that you were talking about. If you feel like you didn't quite make your mark during your college career for the reasons that you laid out, the combine is an excellent way to show that you are an NFL prospect. I was more so getting at those top end guys. I think they realized that it probably does them more harm than good to go out there and potentially hurt their stock. So I think that's something that we're going to see going forward, is those guys sitting it out.
Yeah, it's been happening a while. I think they're just, compete, man. You got a chance to go compete. Just compete. But is what it is.
It's only the difference between a few $1 million, right?
That's right. Piece of cake. Hey, listen.
Speaking of a piece of cake, Tommy, we're recording this on your birthday, so happy birthday, 58.
Thanks, man. It was a great day.
Birthday. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, don't be singing. A great weekend, too. Went to Memphis for my birthday. I recommend it to anybody. Go to Memphis.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Tommy on Tap. We hope to see you next week, where we're going to talk about something you'll love just as much.
It's Tommy on Tap, baby!
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Bite a kneecap off.
On the last play of the game.
It's Tommy on Tap.